Well, Carla, President Trump made history tonight with the longest acceptance speech ever, coming in at 1 hour and 10 minutes. And as you mentioned, he also made history with the first convention acceptance speech in front of the White House. His argument for staying there another 4 years is all about keeping America's place in the world.
In recent months, our nation and the entire planet has been struck by a new and powerful, invisible enemy. Like those brave Americans before us, we are meeting this challenge. We are delivering life-saving therapies and will produce a vaccine before the end of the year, or maybe even sooner. I have done more for the African-American community than any president since Abraham Lincoln, our first Republican president.
Now, the president went down kind of a laundry list of things that he's proudest of, including opening up the Keystone and Dakota Access pipelines, also pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord, also trade tariffs against China, the new NAFTA, the replacement for NAFTA, as well as the Israeli United Arab Emirates peace deal. But he also spent a good deal of time going after his opponent, Joe Biden.
Have voters faced a clearer choice between two parties, two visions, two philosophies, or two agendas? This election will decide whether we save the American dream or whether we allow a socialist agenda to demolish our cherished destiny. When Congresswoman Ilhan Omar called the Minneapolis Police Department a cancer that is rotten to the root, Biden wouldn't disavow her support. No one will be safe in Biden's America. My administration will always stand with the men and women of law enforcement. The Republican Party condemns the rioting, looting, arson, and violence we have seen in Democrat-run cities all, like Kenosha, Minneapolis, Portland, Chicago, and New York, and many others, Democrat-run.
So this city, Minneapolis, was mentioned many times throughout this convention. It's all part of a theme to say that, in their opinion, that Democrat-run cities can't control crime, can't install order, and that's a preview of what the Joe Biden administration would be. And they've actually said a lot, Carla, about how this civil unrest we've seen will move to the suburbs, in their opinion, and they know the suburbs are a key battleground for this upcoming election. Back to you.
Yeah, I'll question whether that message will resonate. Very good. Thank you so much, John Croman, live for us tonight.